My name is Jenna Pilgrim, and I am here today to talk to you about how the blockchain can be used to quantify reputation online through social media, through financial services, and through all of the different instances of yourself online. So let's get started. So as we know, online video networking and sharing networks drives our world more than ever. Household streaming is up because of COVID. Social media accounted for a significant portion of marketing budgets. We saw many different e-commerce brands shifting so that they could provide more online services or more online experiences even. And unfortunately, our social media companies haven't been able to keep up with this. We still are unable to prove that a person is a person in a specific environment online. Any person can open an account. It's actually assumed that the average human has about 90 different accounts across social media platforms. I have about 180. You can easily check by going into your Google Chrome settings and seeing how many different saved passwords there are. So obviously in social media, we need to understand how brands can play a role in our day-to-day networking with one another. So obviously brands are trying their best to connect with us. They don't want to be annoying. They don't want to force their way into our lives. They don't want to, advertising especially, doesn't want to be annoying. But unfortunately, our consistent social media atmosphere has forced them to put themselves in front of audiences by buying them. They purchase them from Google or from the big social media companies, and this business model is the only way that we are able to, as consumers, act in a free way on each of these platforms. The old adage says that if you don't pay for the product, then the product is you. And these data sharing networks, unfortunately, are cutting out average humans. They're overcharging companies, especially smaller brands. And we are overall disincentivized to provide good information. So it just contributes to the absolute mess of noise. The other thing is that we've seen a rise in influencer culture, which has caused a lot of problems for a lot of different reasons. Influencer culture has pushed us towards a world where we don't know whether someone is sharing something because they actually like it or because they're paid to like it by somebody, or a brand has paid them to post about something. Meanwhile, the brands who are actively trying to use or leverage the audiences of these influencers are unable to have transparency into any of the different sort of inner workings of the analytics that are being shared. And what we are trying to do at StreamBed, among many other things, is we're trying to push forward into a world where we're able to both own our own data, but also monetize it in a really intelligent way. And the really useful interactions that we do online are those interactions that we have with people who are closer to us. So I'm going to get into relationship strength in a little bit, but the bottom line is that regular humans aren't able to monetize their data, and brands aren't getting clear information about how people are interacting with them online. So as we said, it's all about accounts right now. And this is bad for a lot of reasons. It's bad for security. It's bad for hacking and leaks. It's bad for the exposure of your personal data, but it's also bad for the correctness of your personal data. If you move or if you try to sort of maintain a low profile online, then people are unable to find you, which means you don't get relevant ads, which means you don't get sort of relevant systems. And anytime one of these accounts is corrupted, you don't know that your information is lost. There are many different apps online that talk about that will like scan the internet to talk about to see what's missing, or to sort of scan different social media platforms to delete searches of you and so on and so forth. But these programs can often be costly. They scrape data, which means any data that is scraped really loses its legitimacy because you found it somewhere. And then obviously this gets into personal privacy issues. It gets into all kinds of other things. And then these large data farms come in, they grab all of the data that is available, and then they sell it to the highest bidder. So why does this happen? It happens because of the app silos. Currently, our Web 2 infrastructure is unable to stand up to the needs of the average consumer. We use different social media accounts for different reasons. We have different instances of ourselves in each of these different places, and we can't see how much of our profiles are like are stored across platforms. We can't, if the me on LinkedIn doesn't know how to talk to the me on Instagram, how to talk to the me on Facebook or on YouTube or on TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. And these walled gardens monetize based on the information that we give them. And so these different personas aren't giving a clear view into who a human actually is or what a human actually wants to accomplish. And then on the other side of that, we see the emergence of these Web3 apps. We have Patreon, we have Library, we have Voice, we have Minds. These are in some cases blockchain-based platforms that are trying their best to push into a world where social media governs the day. There's a funny joke that has been going around online that says that of people switching over to Signal, and they said, I'm leaving Facebook, I'm leaving WhatsApp because there's not enough privacy. And then the next window is the guy coming back to each of these social media apps where it says none of my friends are there, only privacy. And so we're seeing the emergence of this user generated problem, is that the places that we are is where our friends are. We want to be in online communities where there are other people. And we're unable to do that, or at least unable to correlate any of those identities together to make a more robust view of both ourselves that is owned by us, that can be monetized by us, and that we can sort of govern as to where our data actually goes. So what if we could narrow down data to actually be transactional? So let's take this video, for example. There's myself, there's the founders of Keynote, there's Keynote, there are the sponsors of the North American Bitcoin Conference. And although we're not there in person, there's been this emergence of new business models because of COVID that have forced especially companies to rethink sponsorships and what they actually receive out of sponsorships. So in this example, we have myself, we have my company, we have Keynote, we have Keynote's founders, and we have the sponsors of the North American Bitcoin Conference. So that's already 5 stakeholders. So if they were to take this video that we've now created, and it's one video file, and then they distribute it across 5 different platforms. So that's now 5 videos. So then we take that and we put it out across each of those 5 stakeholders, puts it out on their 5 platforms. We now have 25 instances of the exact same video present online that the internet doesn't recognize that those are all the same video. And then you add in actually all the things that make the internet cool, like GIFs and reposts and memes and, stickers on Instagram of Mo's glasses or whatever. And all of those different instances are facets that should connect back to the original video, but they don't right now. So what is the solution for this? We need to establish a reputation mechanism whereby anyone who has an account online in any environment, it starts with social media, we think, but then could pass over into your online shopping. It could go into verified purchasers. You could see an extrapolation into any different thing that you log into online. Any SaaS platform that you log into has the ability to feed data points back to show a more complete picture of who you actually are online. So if we're able to correlate together these videos, and then we're able to correlate together humans, then we're actually able to take the metadata of that and gain a significantly larger insight into the relationship between 2 people. So in this example, we've used the relationship between myself and my friend Monica. So if we can log in, I log in, I tell the engine that I am me in each of these different instances, and these use the APIs of each of the different social media companies. I tell the engine that I am me in each of these different instances, and then my friend Monica logs in and does the same. She tells it that she is me in each of these different environments. These could be Web 2 environments. Ideally, you would add in Web 3 environments as well. And therefore, we can infer, sort of correlate the follower counts together, and then you're actually able to see, or at least make some sort of reasonable judgment as to how close my relationship is with Monica. And if I'm able to make that inference, then if I publish something to social media and Monica interacts with it, then that produces another piece of data that is a really useful information for large companies, so say I purchase a Nike hoodie and I publish about it on social media, and then Monica comments and says, "This is really cool, where can I buy a hoodie?" Then if that connection can be tracked, then Nike probably wants that information about how close my relationship is with Monica, and then they can make an inference about what my influence actually is. So where does the blockchain come into this? If all of this information is to be created, then it also needs to be protected. And we have actually at StreamEd been able to do this, where we're able to pull the metadata of all of this information, and we don't get to see any of that information, but we're able to pull the metadata of all of these different transactions and publish it to the blockchain. To do this, we need to use a lightweight proof of work environment that disincentivizes, obviously, malicious actors from coming in and deciding that they want to sort of change the record of history. And as this is like a 2-key encryption system, we're able to give the user a key, and we're able to give we ourselves have a key. And so what we're able to do is we're able to say both keys must be present before we're actually able to access any of this information. So without risk of turning this into an infomercial, because it's not that, this is what we're building at StreamEd. We are trying to establish an environment where humans are able to actually earn from their favorite brands. So this is what our app currently looks like, is you publish to each of these different or you link together all these different environments, and then we publish to those platforms on your behalf, or you can go back and tag them later. But the bigger thing that we've been working on over the last year or so, or 6 months or so, has been this marketplace view. This allows brands the ability to pay human beings for their data. And we're most excited about this because it allows humans the ability to not necessarily take back their data, because I really don't think that that's reasonable, or at least it's not right now. We're not able to change anything about our sort of consumer behavior without compromising everything that, all of our different workflows of how we exist on the internet as consumers. So without changing any of your behavior, you add in an extra step, and you're at least able to take a bite out of the side salad instead of stealing the lunch of the big social media companies. So our big key takeaways here are that you need to educate yourself about how your data is used online. So I would encourage you to check your third-party apps on both Google and on Facebook to see which apps have access to your Facebook. If you've ever used Login with Facebook or Login with Google, check third-party access to all of your apps periodically to say, which apps am I actually still using? Because all of us contribute to how correct a data set is online, and we need to maintain that. We need to make sure that our inputs that are going into the system are still valid, that we are still using them, and that we still need them. So even if you don't think you have influence, you do. Who do I ask if I'm trying to purchase a specific thing? I usually ask a friend of mine, or I ask my family, or someone that is close to me, and they have influence in my decision making, especially as a consumer. This flows into, obviously, we've had lots of political unrest in this last year. We've had lots of challenges, and our consumer behavior is the biggest thing that will drive change. And if we want to actually be able to put forth an internet that is more reputable, that is more correct, then we need to correlate more data platforms together to be able to publish in a public and open source environment, encrypted, but public still, an open source environment, what is actually happening on social media, so that we have the ability to monetize it ourselves. So collectively, we become stronger than the individual sum of our parts. And I think the last thing is to just pay attention, is to understand how your identity is being used online, and get into apps that will help you understand what you're supposed to do next. And so I would encourage you to check us out online. We are streamedmedia.com and at the StreamEd on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. And definitely reach out. I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk more about this. And thanks so much to Mo and the Keynote team for having me. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.